What's up, guys? I know it's been a long time. We have not recorded in
about a month now.
Yeah, almost a month, about 3 weeks now. And today our topic is going to be mental health, because we've been doing a lot of reflecting lately about where we were about a year ago. So I just wanted to start with about a year ago. I had already taken this antibiotic and it was making me suicidal. So for a whole week straight, was it about a week?
Yeah.
It was about a whole week straight. I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would have this urge to want to harm myself every single night. It was to the point that when I saw my kids, they didn't know this, but I was saying goodbye to them practically on a regular basis because I felt like I wasn't going to be able to handle it. And I'm usually a pretty strong person, you know what I mean, but this had grasped me and held me, and I couldn't even, like, there was no way for me to stop this feeling. He was like, what is going on? And it got to the point that he took me to a behavioral health place because it was happening repeatedly, day after day. It was something he hadn't encountered, and then it was just out of nowhere. It was every single day. It was this feeling that would come on. I would cry and beg and plead with him to let me do this, and he would be like, no, you know, you're stronger than this, you can handle it, you can work through this. And I honestly did not feel at that point that I could, and it was just something that it just kept on coming back. I didn't know how to stop it, and I don't know even how it stopped, to be honest with you. It was just a day I woke up and it wasn't there anymore. But there was a lot of things throughout 2019 that I had been through. There was points in the year where I couldn't walk. I couldn't do any of the activities that I normally do, and I would try to smile and fake it till I made it type thing with my emotions for my family, because he just burped in my face, because they rely on me for the emotional support and the cheerleading and everything, and it just became overwhelming. I felt like I had a duty to keep on trying to be happy for them, and I was hoping eventually, like, one day it's gonna be real, one day I'm gonna feel okay, one day I'm gonna be able to walk, one day, you know what I mean, like all these things, one day is really gonna be real. But throughout that whole experience, behind the times that I was vlogging and smiling and doing all these things, this is what was happening in the middle of the night. And I don't know why it struck at night, but it was at night, usually around the same time. I had this electric feeling on my body, like something was burning and something was shocking me, and then I would have these in and out of my mental state, like I wouldn't be myself. So he's gonna say how he felt during that time, and we'll go from there.
One of the things I realized is when we actually read the label on the medication, we actually read it, and those were one of the side effects in the world. So imagine you taking a pill, a medication that's supposed to solve one issue, but it creates another one. You're not getting any sleep, you know, so you're sleep deprived. So all these things, staying up in the middle of the night, can't sleep, you know, all those things cause undue stress on your mental state, you know. So all those factors, it was beyond my scope as far as understanding what was going on. It just, I gotten used to just, you know, you get to a peak and then you shut it off. You know, you get to a wall, you shut it off emotionally. You get the peak, you shut it off. Or you talk to people and you download and say, hey, this is what the problem I'm having, and you have pretty much diarrhea of the mouth of what's been happening with you, and you feel better, and then you a little better at that particular time, and you move forward. But in this situation, it was happening so often that I was kind of at a loss. You know, I mean, I'm waking up in the middle of the night with her and having to be there for her, and you calling family members for advice on things, on how do you deal with this? What should I do? And they're not, you know, clear on how to approach the situation. So
yeah, he tried to reach out to his people and see,
and it wasn't it wasn't as what I wanted to hear. So it's kind of what I needed to hear. Hey, be there for your wife. You know, she's going through a tough time right now, but just stand by her, because that's all she wants. you know, and it was no, you know what I mean? Because you got to think, you know, we're in a whole nother state. We don't have nobody around us. So when you're reaching out for certain things, this is what, you know what I mean? You're reaching out because, hey, I need to, you know, I need advice on this particular situation. How do you go about handling this? If you've been in this situation yourself, what can you do? And once I didn't get that answer, and I'm thinking to myself, what, you know what I mean? Okay, so that's why we ended up going to the behavioral health, you know, for answers, because it was beyond my scope. Because I'm waking up, I'm getting frustrated. Now we ended up going to the behavioral health place, and we were like, hey, this is the situation here, and the way they handled it was off. You know what I mean? You know, they didn't make her feel safe. We vocalized that, and the staff there was like, well, you've never been to this before, huh?
Yeah,
you know,
mind you, I'm in a vulnerable state.
Yeah.
My mental state is very weak at this point. So I'm coming because, not because of me, because I didn't want to go. But he was like, listen, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing at this point, and I need to help you. I don't want you to, like, something to happen to you, like if I'm at work or something like that. I don't want anything to go on. So I just want to get you some sort of help. So we go to this place, and I end up feeling more like prisonerish, like going there. I wasn't admitted or anything. They just gave me referrals, but just the process to get in to talk to somebody was very like prison-like, and like you're getting patted down and they're checking my stuff, and I was like, what is going on?
I mean, you would think if you came in against your will.
Just like, okay. My whole thing was like, even though I was at my lowest point, I was looking towards like the top again. Like I want to be able to get out of this funk. I want to be able to mentally like be the way I was prior to this, and I want to be able to physically be able to do the things that I wanted to do. A lot of my depression came from, I went from a life of like joking around, dancing, playing around and doing stuff, not being able to move much. Everything hurt, and my mental state was altered. So come on, if you're coming, come on. I knew I was down, but I wasn't defeated. You know what I mean? I still had like a little glimmer of hope, and I guess my why at that time would have been my family, because they were going to be the reason that I was pulling out of this situation.
Then mind you, she was FaceTiming her people every day. Every day, getting the smiles from the nephew and things like that. And, you know, so, I mean, that does help. You know, when you got your, you know, the whys in front of you, like, hey, you know, we know you. There was a point that, you know,
my mom told me, sorry, I'm going to get a little emotional, but she told me that she's not supposed to bury her child, you know? And she was worried that something was going to happen to me and that she was going to have to bury me. That really hurt, you know what I mean? And it also made me think of John Q.
Oh, God.
Because he was like, what did he say? My son's supposed to bury me. I'm not supposed to bury my son. And right when she had said that, it made me think of that. You know, like, that's kind of effed up to have to think of your child, like attending your child's funeral or something like that, you know? So, and then I thought about my kids having to go through that, like, unnecessarily. Not because I went through a car accident or something like that, but something I did myself. All those things like flashed in my mind, and I was like, oh man, I can't do this to my family. You know what I mean? It was tough. It was hard. We went through months of very difficult times, but and it put a strain on us. We fought a lot because of it, because he was like, what's going on with you? Like, he didn't understand. But I'm like, you take this pill and you see how you feel afterwards. And
look at online, and I joined a Facebook group that went through the same thing she went through, and it's real out there. There's medications out there that people, I mean, the doctors are not, some of the doctors are not thoroughly reading the information and the side effects. And a lot of these side effects are worse than what they're treating.
Yeah. You
go in there with a condition that, you know, automatically they're going to try to nuke it with a medication that should be the last resort out the gate. You got to be prepared, you know. Now, ever since this happened, I'm reading all the medications that come through the door.
it caused strain between us. And then he ended up being affected by my mental state. So because I wasn't the person that I normally am, like chipper and like laughing and joking, and I was always crying every day, he ended up feeling down every day, and he ended up staying out of work for a while, you know, like he's like, I can't go today, or he wouldn't feel good, or you know what I mean, like all that stuff. I saw that I was dragging everybody down with my emotions, because everyone looks to me like how I feel radiates throughout the family, like through, you know, so they go based off of my emotions. So when I was feeling a certain type of way, so was everybody else. Everyone else was down, everyone else was, you know, so it was a lot of responsibility for me to try to pull myself out of this, because I was like looking at my husband falling apart because I was falling apart, my kids falling apart because I'm falling apart, and it was overwhelming. Months later, we end up in another dark time, but it's with him this time. So in August, he loses his job, and from then he spirals out of control with his own mental health. So I'm gonna let him talk about.
And I was belittled in front of patients, and that had a detrimental effect on my self-esteem, and mentally, I went back to that military state of mind of, okay, I got to deal with this. You know what I mean? I'm embarrassed. I'm being put down in front of, and later on, my boss is like, you know, we're trying to, you're a good guy, but you don't have a good fit for this, and we wanted you to move forward. And I was basically forced out the door. I had to resign from the position. People I didn't even know. So, oh, it's shaking. Yeah. Well, that's it's really, it was really tough for me.
I don't want to do anything at all, and I would try to be understanding about it, but I understand from anybody's point of view, but especially a man, I feel it's hard when they lose their jobs, because they identify that with being able to take care of their families, and when that ability is not there, then they feel like less than, you know what I mean? I didn't ever want to come at him like...
That's hard, because I've always had multiple occupations. I would have a primary job, but I also have other occupations where I would be out there like hitting it hard, you know, just doing it. Like even in San Diego, for our 2-bedroom apartment, we're paying $15.75. Where our 2 children, the guinea pigs, our dog in there, we had the whole enchilada. I was working my full-time federal job. Then we were doing Amazon. I was doing Amazon after work. Then we do Amazon together on the weekends. So, I mean, we you know, what, a lot of things within the last year, and then especially when the job loss, things like that, it jacked me up, because mentally it was like, okay, this is what happened. And I had people tell me, man, you got to put that behind you. You know, you got to put that behind you. You got a life to live, they're moving on. You're stuck somewhere back there. And it happened to me when I was in 2006. You know, I had to, you know,
It's much easier for other people, maybe possibly, to move on than him, just because, like, the way he identified was, you know, HM2 Kevin, you know, or HM2, then he's a husband, then he's a father, then he's Kevin, you know what I mean? And so everything was like,
I put titles in front of me.
Yeah.
And then that's one thing she was telling me for the longest time, you put too many titles in front of you.
As women, we do it too, because, you know, we're mom first, wife first, and I'm not Tori, I'm Kevin's wife first, and Kimana and Taj's mom first, you know what I mean? So you put this title ahead of you, and you kind of lose who you are as a person, because you're so fixated on fulfilling these titles.
To me, that gives me unfortunately, that gave me a sense of power and identity, because I was like, well, you know, I serviced, I had my service, I had my ribbons, all deployments, all that stuff I had done. I put in the work, you know what I mean? I did the deployments, I put in the work, I put in the hours at my last place, all the 10 years, all that stuff, I put in work. You know, so I put in work, so at the end of the day, I identified a lot with those titles, because I was there. It's an accomplishment. It's an accomplishment that I was proud of, that I had put in all that work and that effort, and all those ribbons that I put on my chest, that's the
He
things.
was really happy when he would get those ribbons.
Yeah, I was out
We
there
have his
6 months.
ribbons.
It's in Iraq.
We have those ribbons.
I was out there. You know, I signed that dotted line. I was out there for those months at a time doing those missions and things like that. Then I went to federal. I got those awards.
got
You know,
like
I was.
10 year,
I got a
5
10-year.
Was it 5 years?
I did 10 years and 10 years. I got.
Was there a 5 one? Or was it
No,
just
it was
10?
just
Okay,
10
so
years. I went 10 years and then I got my bronze
And he put
eagle
that on proudly
on my
every
on my
day.
thing, and even when I cut hair, I put it on. They were like, "Where'd you get that from?" Like, "Oh, I'm 10 years, over 10 years now, federal service."
All this to, you know, let you guys know that even when you're down, like, you're not completely defeated.
Yeah.
There is a way out of all that stuff. You know, I eventually end up being able to walk and get on the treadmill at 3.5 miles. I started off with 1.5, so like things do change. There's always going to be setbacks and everything like that, but if you make a permanent decision, you won't be able to right those things, you know what I mean? You won't be able to see the other side. If I carried through with what I wanted to do last year, I wouldn't have seen the other side of all this. I wouldn't have known that, hey, I would be able to work out. Yeah, it's slow, it takes me a while, but I wouldn't have known that I would have been able to do that because I was so fixated on what was going on in that moment that I didn't see the other side. You know, there's always peaks and valleys in life, and you can overcome things, and mental health and wellness is important. And when you are in those down moments, I think that you should take the time to find things that do make you happy, because it's really hard. And I think that is what was the most difficult part in all of this for each of us. When he lost his job, and for my situation, is that we didn't have things that made us happy at that point. We were just so fixated on the things that were making us upset and depressed and all that stuff that we didn't even look at the other side of all this. And so today when we went out, we was like working out together. We had this nice long talk, and to me, I love those times where we can just connect and talk and focus on our goals together, and see that, you know, not every time is going to be positive. Not everything is going to always be bright and sunny, but there is going to be a better outcome. There is a chance for us to get over these humps, be better, come back stronger, formulate a good plan for ourselves. And that's what I want anyone that's suffering through mental health to know, is that there might be a lot of dark days. Trust me, 2019 was probably the shadiest and the darkest time in my life, you know what I mean? And so, but there's still the other side of that. There's still more to look forward to in life. So I was blessed that I had someone by my side that was trying to figure out like how to stop me from feeling the way that I did. And we have to be hard on each other at times to be like, yo, you got to get out of this and, you know, come up on the other side, because you focus on that stuff sometimes. When you keep seeing that dark side, you just focus and focus and focus on that. And so you have to be like, yo, come on now, you can do better than this. You're better than this. And you can, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel not okay at times. But I don't feel like we should allow ourselves to just stay in that sunken place the entire time, because
it'll consume you.
Yeah, and it'll just get deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you will have a hard time climbing your way out of these situations. So we've seen the worst from each other, like mental health wise. We've seen the darkest of times with each other. We've seen the best of times, you know what I mean? We've had so many wins and so many losses in the span of 20 years together. There's been a lot of things that we could celebrate, and a lot of things that it's, you know what I mean, we're like, what the hell is going on?
We came here, I mean, it taught us a lot, because we came here, it's like we stepped on a landmine.
It's okay though, because
you know,
we learned a
lot from it.
We're learning. We're
put the
constantly
pieces
learning.
back together. This explosion goes off, and like, oh, okay, next time we're gonna walk around it. You see that that little bump right there? We're gonna go around that bump, and that's how you gotta be, because you're gonna hit landmines all throughout your life, and it's just how you know, adapt and learn from it. And you know, this has been.
You have like somebody in your life that can help pull you out when they see you in that place.
Because you're being stuck in the trenches, and you know, unfortunately, I reached out to some people and things like that, and you're not always gonna get the advice you need.
Exactly.
But you'll find people that'll say, hey, you're better than this, and you need to get, either, hey, we've seen the best of you, and you're better than this, and you can pull yourself out of this. And sometimes it's going to be you.
Yeah.
There might be that little voice in the back of your mind saying, hey, you need to snap out of this. You got your whys behind you that's saying, hey, this is why you get up in the morning. This is why you got to put, take your ass in that shower, take a shower, put your clothes on and get out there in the street. And that's your why. So
you gotta focus on those.
You gotta really do, because
it gives you something to press
Yeah,
forward for.
yeah.
Because if I didn't have a why, I don't think I would be here.
No.
You know what I mean? If I didn't have,
Yeah.
and I don't share a lot of my intimate, behind the scenes, real true feelings with many people. So people won't know when I'm suffering, except for when I start pulling back, because I'm the type of person that when I'm struggling, I stop talking to people, because I'm like, I don't want to pull you down with me. So when I'm like drowning, I don't reach for another person's hand. I just drown on my own. And I only have like select people around me that I'm like, well, let me reach for their hand. I don't want to pull somebody else down. So you'll just notice all of a sudden I'll disappear. And it's because honestly I have to focus on my mental health. I go in and out of things a lot. There's times that I'm depressed. There's times that I have anxiety. And I tend to deal with those things on my own. Like, you know what I mean? So luckily we have each other. And we can talk to each other about these things or pull each other out. Usually, I'm like class clown around here, so I'm always trying to make somebody smile or something like that, because, a smile goes a long way.
It does.
Definitely.
It does.
Laughter goes a long way, and I realize that in my own life. Like the times that I'm laughing, I'm like, it feels really good. So to have somebody that you can just laugh and like bullshit with and all that, it means the world. So anyone that is suffering or going through a dark time, you're not alone. Many of us suffer. A lot of people choose to put our best foot forward on social media or whatever is going on. We tend to go through a lot of things, but you just put out the best pictures. But me, I like to show both sides, because I'm gonna look at my dark times and remember, maybe 5-10 pictures down the line, like, yo, it's the other side now, and it wasn't that bad, and you know what I mean, or it was that bad, and I'm like, holy shit, how did I get through this? But now when I look through memories and stuff like that, even through my YouTube, I'm like, damn, I first started it talking about this antibiotic. Basically I had 2 videos, the antibiotic video, and then it was me like going back and forth, researching, learning, trying to deal with the side effects, and in between were vlogs. It's interesting to me.
And people that have watched that video have hit her up on YouTube, like, hey, how did you get through this? I'm really curious, because I've gone through the same situations, and I've read stories of identical problems. People were in and out of the hospitals. The doctors thought they were crazy. Yeah. And
I would read comments to him, and he would be like,
crazy.
Reading the comments from my videos, or we would look through the
I looked at Facebook. The people were, these people had like full-fledged careers, full-fledged job, working, functional, and then they took a medication and they went sideways, and people was like, what the hell is wrong with you? What snap out of this, And it's just an unfortunate situation. They went from this healthy, and
there's 3,000 people on just that group. There's several different groups on Facebook that are focused on this antibiotic. I'm in just one of them. And even I had to hide it from my Facebook because it overwhelms me.
Yeah.
When I get stressed, my symptoms are tenfold. So when I kind of repressed when I'm okay, and then when I'm going through times of stress, the pains and all the stuff come back. So I notice that I have to check myself, before I wreck myself. And that's real. Like, that's real talk. And for him, the same thing. I try to like look out for him and make sure that he's good, because sometimes he won't be good to himself. He won't look out for himself. So I have to make sure that I'm looking out for him. And I drag his ass up, and I'm like, hey, we're doing this.
I'm getting up. She's like, I don't know.
We're going to work out together. Let's go.
She's like, I'm getting your ass up. Like, you ain't trying to. Like, I started adapting the ways out here, getting up at 10 o'clock in the morning,
We're gonna close up this video, you guys, because we could probably go on forever, especially about how he's feeling about. We'll probably do a separate video talking about how he's been with the, you know, side gig as a full-time gig.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm gonna do a separate one.
We'll do a separate video.
It's definitely tough.
And
I mean, I got what I asked for. I got tired of doing the locked into a building, you know.
But we're going to end this because he's going to keep on talking. I just said there's going to be a separate video in this month. Keep talking. All right, you guys, we're ending it from the phone because our camera died. But thank you so much for joining us and spending your minutes with us. We really appreciate it. Haven't done an outro in a while, so it's a little weird. But you guys just check in. Make sure emotionally you're checking in and let us know how you're doing. Our emotional check-in. I mean, I feel good. I feel all right. And how do you feel?
I feel good. I mean, I feel like I have a lot more to say. But hey,
he's gonna do a separate video talking about his other stuff, but he wanted to keep on going with the talking about the work thing, and we just it didn't tie into really the video subject.
Yeah, I get it.
So
stay on topic.
Yeah, I have to reel him in because he'd be like, oh my gosh, let me talk about everything, y'all. And I appreciate that, but you know what I mean? So we love you guys so much. Thank you for joining us. We will not have a long hiatus like this. We'll try to be more regular and consistent. We're just under construction right now, so we're trying to figure out what direction we're going to go and what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So work with us, but we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.